The brain and memory. Information can be verbal, visual, tactile, olfactory, or emotional. Different kinds of information are received and processed and stored in different locations. Most of our memories are stored in the cortex, the outer part of the brain. The left side of the brain is involved more in verbal memory and the right side more in visual memory. Short-term memory processing takes place in the frontal lobe, and the process of recording new memories takes place in the temporal lobes. Visual information enters the brain through our eyes and is processed at the back of the brain in a place called the occipital lobe. Auditory information comes in through the ears and is processed by the temporal lobes. Spatial information is processed in the parietal lobe, the top part of the brain. There are also special areas that are involved in language, processing emotional memory, and forming habits. Attention, a key to memory. Do you remember the day you bought your first car or your graduation party? Well, I'm sure you remember that special day in complete detail. Isn't it surprising that without any knowledge of memory techniques, you are able to remember an event that happened years ago? Whereas if I ask you about the clothes you wore last Monday, your mind will go blank. Well, there are many situational and natural factors that affect our efficiency of remembering things. Memory has two principal components, recording and recalling. When new information is safely embedded in the brain, we say it has been recorded. The recorded information needs to be recalled to say that we have memorized that information. Stored information that cannot be recalled is like things thrown into a bottomless pit. It's there, but one doesn't know where. Some natural factors important for converting any information into a memory may be summarized as attention, interest, emotions. Attention. Scientists have discovered that in order for the brain to record new information, one of the primary ingredients required is attention. Attention is my ability to focus on my chosen task so that the brain processes only that task and ignores the rest of the stimuli. Attention is like a spotlight. We prevent distraction in our attention through focusing. For example, if we are in a room that is noisy, we find it hard to make sense of what a person is saying to us. However, when we focus and become selective in our perception, we find that it becomes easier to catch the voice of the person who is talking to us. This requires focalizing on one sound and ignoring all other sounds as useless. Brain fact: any new information that we learn is recorded inside the brain in the form of connections between different neurons called neural circuits. And to form a neural circuit, attention is indispensable and so important. It has been observed in a series of experiments that by merely repeating a task without paying attention to it does not create any new neural circuits inside the brain. Mere repetition for the sake of repetition will not get any benefits to you. Studies by memory researchers also show that for long-term memories to form, close attention has to be paid to information. Attention works like a gate to open and let more neural information in. Without attention, information that our senses take in, what we see and hear, feel, smell, and taste, literally does not register in the mind. It may not be stored even briefly in the memory. Our faculty of attention affects us in countless ways. Our very perception of reality is tied closely to where we focus our attention. Only what we pay attention to seems real to us. Whereas whatever we ignore, no matter how important it may be, seems to fade into insignificance. So we must always pay attention to relevant things so that these stay in our memory for a long time. Interest. When you want to learn and remember something for a longer time, your interest in that particular information plays an equally important role in shaping what you pay attention to. David is all set to go out to play with his friends when his mom tells him that some friends of his father are coming for dinner. She then tells him a list of things she wants from the market. David listens to it half-heartedly without interest, and just as he reaches the shop, he's not able to recall even half of the things he was told to get. Well, the reason for this, that David was not interested in the list of things his mother was telling him. That is why it did not register strongly in his memory. This is what happens with most of us in our day-to-day life. Students don't remember everything they were taught in the lectures they attended in a day. Husbands don't remember what their wives said, and kids don't remember even half of the instruction their parents and teachers gave them. This is all because of a lack of interest. On the other hand, you can easily hold on your attention to things you are interested in. For example, when was the last time you were distracted by thoughts of your homework or forthcoming exams while watching your favorite movie, game, TV serial? Most of you will say never. The reason why you were able to concentrate and pay full attention to 3 hours of your favorite movie is because you were interested in watching the movie. Hence, your attention was uncompromised. Similarly, when you pick a book or attend a class or a lecture, check yourself whether you are interested in it or not. If you think it's boring, you won't be able to focus or pay attention to it, even while you are being introduced to someone, and if you don't pay attention to this name, you won't be able to recall it 5 minutes later, even it's a simple name. So attention is very important whether information to be memorized is simple or difficult. If we are interested in something, we can pay attention to it even if there's so much going around. Nowadays, we see people chatting on their smartphones all the time on apps like WhatsApp. While doing so, their complete attention is on that chat. It does not matter if they are in a busy market or traveling in a metro or a local train. Nothing distracts them from their communication with their friend. Information that interests us is automatically stored as short or long-term memory, depending on the level of our interest and emotions attached to the information or event. A 7-year-old child can tell you the models of 10 different cars parked in a parking lot, but ask him about the spellings he learned that day in school, and he will not remember it. The thought of the cars invoke emotions of pleasure and joy, whereas spellings are boring for him. In our daily life, we come across people with interest in different things. Some people remember stories of all the novels they read in the last 2 years, or some may remember names of movies of a popular film star, but ask them about the latest Nobel Prize winner and they will not be able to answer because their interest lies elsewhere. There is one very important thing about interest: it can be generated. If a person is preparing for English exam, he should develop interest in English by reminding himself the benefits of knowing and learning this kind of information for his exams. Interest can be generated by reading English novels or watching news on TV for it. This will help him in storing the information which can be useful at the time of his exams. Emotions. Emotions play a very important role in maintaining interest in any task. For example, let's say you are the Mannschaft fan, Germany national football team fan, and love watching the Mannschaft matches. Won't you agree with me that you watch that match with more interest when Germany is playing against any other country as compared to any two other countries playing a match? This is because you are emotionally attached to your Germany country and thus with Germany national team. So emotions play an important role in maintaining our interest in a particular task, event or situation. You are able to remember some significant days in your life, like when you bought your first vehicle or won a medal in school or had some accident in your life, etc. The reason is that some of your emotions are also attached with these events, whether positive or negative. In fact, emotions act as a glue for memory. Movies are a big example to clearly explain the impact of emotions in our memory. We remember the story of a few movies we watched years ago because there are so many emotions attached to every scene. We connect ourselves to the characters and feel their emotions of joy or pain so deeply. All this makes us realize the importance of emotions in memorizing any information. While remembering emotional positive or negative events, we don't just recall whatever happened, but also how we felt. Some memories can be triggered by something we heard, saw, or even smelled at that time. For example, you visit any famous restaurant and have a good experience there. So the next time you think about that place, you will also remember the aroma of the dish that you liked. Various researchers suggest that the mood of a person affects what we notice and remember. That is why when we are depressed or sad, we tend to remember all negative events, whereas one good memory leads to another. When you go to a wedding, you will find many people discussing things that happened at their own wedding. This is due to their emotional state of celebration. Our emotional state of mind has a direct impact on our attention. When we are feeling depressed or very excited about something, our mind is occupied with various thoughts. In such a case, our attention drifts off very easily into the thoughts that are occupying our mind. Without paying attention, the information won't register inside your brain. Attention is like a mental muscle. It can be trained to become stronger and sharper. Train your memory. Here's a short dialogue between the patient and doctor about a memory problem. Patient said, "Doctor, I have a serious memory problem. I cannot remember anything." Doctor, so since when did you have this problem? Patient, what a problem? The doctor is shocked. Can I have a good memory? I meet hundreds of people from different professions and lifestyle who are constantly complaining about memory problems. Some people complain that they have a very bad memory and are not able to remember anything, while others say that they face problems recalling phone numbers but are good at recalling names and faces. And then there are people who remember phone numbers but cannot remember the names of the people they wish to call. Some people are fast at memorizing things but cannot retain it for long, whereas there are a few others who take a long time to memorize but can retain that information for a long time. They often ask me to give them some tips on how they can improve their poor memory. Let me first tell you that there is no such thing as a poor or bad memory. This may come as a shock to those of you who have used your supposedly poor memory as an excuse for years. But I repeat, there is no such thing as a poor memory. There is only trained or untrained memory. Trained memory means that we can learn to remember things in a simple and definite way, and just as we have learned to speak, walk, and eat. With the use of some smart memory techniques, we can remember much more information for any given length of time, and all this in a very systematic way. The good news is that by training our memory, we all can have a very good, quick, and retentive memory for almost anything. What your untrained memory can do. Be ready for a small test of your present memory. Read the following list of words: ant, mobile, elephant, paintbrush, poster, tree, Spider-Man, rainbow, mug, biscuits, lake, dragon, cloud, umbrella, shoe. Now, if I ask you to memorize the above list of 15 words in the same sequence, how much time do you think you will take? When I ask the same question during my seminars, I get responses varying from 15 minutes to 2 hours. Some people even say we would never be able to memorize it. You can take a self-test, take a stopwatch, and try to remember the above list in 3 minutes. And after 3 minutes, check how many words you are able to recall in the same sequence correctly. Most of the people are able to recollect the first 4-5 words or last 2-3 words, getting confused in the middle. Now learn to memorize the above list in less than 2 minutes. What your trained memory can do. Registration of information is the first step in the process of memorizing. By adding meaning and structure to the information we take in, we can improve our recall. Let's say you know only one language, English, but the slide is written in French. No matter how well things are explained or how relevant the matter is to you, you would not be able to understand it. Unless it makes some sense to you, you won't be able to take it in. In the same way, the information or data should be fit in a language which the brain can understand. In computers too, we input that data through the keyboard. Similarly, the brain also takes input through the 5 senses: hearing, sight, touch, smell, and taste. Since we don't know that processing is required and in which language it should be stored in, we try to register it as it is, and that is why registration of information is not done properly. What is that processing? Let's understand it by reading the following passage. While reading, try to visualize it clearly in your mind. An ant is holding a mobile. With the mobile, it makes a call to an elephant. The elephant is holding a paintbrush. With the brush, he is painting a poster. This poster is pasted on a tree. On the top of the tree is a Spider-Man from whose hands a rainbow is coming out instead of web. Rainbow is going into a mug from which a lot of biscuits are coming out and falling into a lake. In the lake, there is a dragon from whose mouth clouds are coming out. On the cloud, there is an umbrella on which a shoe is placed. Now, without looking back at the story, try to answer the following questions. What was the ant holding? Whom is it calling? What is the elephant holding? Etc. Are you able to answer every question correctly? Awesome, isn't it? And the most amazing part is you can recall the words in the same sequence without actually memorizing them. You must be amazed that what you were unable to do in 10 minutes, you now could do it in just 2 minutes. How and why you were able to do that? Irrespective of our academic background, we all have a scientific brain, which is curious to know the why and how of everything. Knowing something is different and knowledge of how this is useful in my life increases the chances of using it practically. Let's try to understand the basic principles or laws of memory that will enable you to memorize this list or any such kind of list or sequence. The 3 basic laws can be summarized in a single word: air.